Today we're going to talk about 3 ways to become a better listener. We all know that there are people who talk a lot. They probably talk way too much. We also know that we probably don't always have the best techniques when it comes to listening to others. I never necessarily thought of myself as being a great listener, but I've had a lot of people who have told me that I am. So maybe I know something about it. I don't know. We're going to find out. I've got 3 tips on how to be a better listener. And this is whether you're in a leadership position or whether you're listening to one of your friends who has a problem and you're trying to help them solve it, even a child, if they're trying to tell you something. Because sometimes you might be in a position where you need to interpret what's being said as opposed to what they're actually saying. So the first tip is to actually be listening. And the reason I say that is because studies have shown that most of the time when someone is listening to someone else tell them something, they're already starting the response within the first 30 seconds, even though they haven't heard the whole story yet. And the thing is that you may think you know where the story is going, but the story doesn't always go there. And if you get yourself caught up at some point with this thought that you had in your mind, and then they change the story a little bit, or they introduce something you weren't expecting, that totally throws your game off. And then it's hard to get back on track for really listening because you've already eliminated a whole lot of stuff because you already had an answer to something that really wasn't what they were looking for. So that's the first one. The second tip is to ask pertinent questions at the right time. And the reason I say that is because every once in a while, people are known to get off track. It's not necessarily easy for everybody to tell a story from beginning to end. Sometimes they go on tangents. Sometimes they circular speaking, where they keep coming back to the same thing. And you might need to, every once in a while, ask a pertinent question based on what they've said. That might help them to get back on track with what they were saying. But you also need to listen and say, wait, am I hearing what I think I'm hearing? So you may say, hold on, can I verify such and such? And you ask them this question, and hopefully you've heard it right, and they're able to tell you, yes, that's exactly how it is, and then you move on. If they say, nope, that's not it at all, then you know, okay, I've totally misunderstood this. Can we start from such and such a point? Because hopefully you at least were listening to some of it, so you just may have misheard one thing or misinterpreted one thing. And it's always good to try to make sure that you really know what people are saying. And here's the third tip. And it may sound counter to the second tip, but it's not, which is don't keep interrupting. Because I know that there are people where you're trying to tell them something and they just keep interrupting you. And they're not necessarily asking you questions to make sure that you're on point, but they're trying to actually answer the question and you haven't even finished it. Or they want to interject their interpretation, or they want to interject something that they did because they can understand the point that you're at right then, although that's not the entire story. That doesn't help anybody. As a matter of fact, if you don't just sit back and listen, and like I said, every once in a while ask those pertinent questions, you're never going to get to the end of it, and then you can't really help. So, you need to set some rules for yourself to do that. I've just given you these 3 tips. Very easy, at least I think they are. And let me know, are you a good listener? Do you use these techniques, or do you throw something else in? Or do you wish that maybe listeners did something different than what I've just said? Y'all let me know. Short video because it's cold. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Let me know your thoughts. And if you like this kind of thing, please think about subscribing. Y'all take care.